In this video you will learn what is React Router and how you can use it inside React correctly. And actually React is considered a library and not a framework. This is why we don't have router inside React at all. This means that we must install some additional library, and the most popular library for React, which is not official, is called React Router. As you can see, this is the official website, reactrouter.com. Here is version 6. And as you can see, this is the GitHub. It is not official. It is a namespace remix run React Router. But this is the most popular solution for routing, and it covers all needs that you will have. This is why it doesn't make any sense to look for alternative. So first of all, let's try to install React Router and configure some basic routes. And just for you to know, here we have React Router version 6, and it is important because actually they break quite a lot from major version to major version, which actually means what I'm telling you here is related to version 6 and above. Now we must install our new package for React Router. This is why here yarn add React Router DOM. And as you can see here, we are not installing just React Router, we are really writing here -dom. And it is happening because inside this router we have quite a lot of routes. As you can see here, we have browser router, hash router, React Native router, and so on, which actually means it makes a lot of sense to install router specifically for web application. The next step will be to jump inside source index, and here we want to import browser router. And we are importing it from React Router DOM that we just installed. And now we must wrap the whole application, typically our app component, with browser router, and it will bring the whole concept of the router inside our app, so we will get access to the router inside all our components. Our next step here is to register some links and routes, and actually for this I want to jump inside app.js, but as you can see here I have quite a lot of components. First of all, here I created dashboard.js. Nothing inside, this is just a plain component. I also have here public.js, which is also just a plain component, and protected.js. The difference here is only in the text. Now we must jump inside our app.js, and here we want to register our routes. And actually router inside React Router is not working like any typical router inside other frameworks that you might know. For example, in backend frameworks, typically you have a file which is called routes, and then inside you can define all your routes for the whole application at once. Previously it worked exactly like this inside React Router, but not anymore. Here now we define all our routes like components inside our DOM tree. This is why here after h1 we can write routes component. And as you can see here, it was auto-imported from React Router DOM. Now inside our routes component we want to create a route. This is why here route, and we are providing inside a property path, which is exactly on what URL this route must be rendered. And here slash means our home page, and after this we want to provide here our element. And inside element we can just provide some markup, but we really want to render here a component, so we can directly write here dashboard. After this we can simply close our route. Let's check if it's working. We don't have any errors, and I will reload the page here, and as you can see our h1 is rendered, and after this we see our specific route, which actually means we used here routes construction, and inside we registered a route, and it means that on our home page we will render this dashboard component. Now let's render here one more route. I will copy paste our route, and let's make here path protected. And here we want to render another element, it will be our component protected. I'm saving this, and let's check this out. I will jump to /protected, and as you can see now protected component is rendered here, which actually means our routes are successfully registered. But obviously inside our application we want to jump to different routes, and for this we want to register links. This is why here on the top we can use component which is called link, and we are also importing it from React Router DOM. And here inside we must provide a URL where we want to link a user. For example, here we can write that we have a link to / and this is our dashboard page. After this we can create one more link, and it will go to our protected page. And here we must change to /protected. Let's check if it's working. I'm reloading the page and we see here a beautiful navigation, dashboard, which is going to home page, and here protected, which is jumping to /protected. And as you can see, when I'm clicking these links, our content is rendered and our route is being changed automatically. The next thing that you for sure want to implement is called layout. And actually you typically want to wrap all your routes with some kind of same layout. For example, you have a headline or a footer or a sidebar, you don't want to duplicate it in every single page. How we can do that? First of all, we must create here a layout. And for this I will copy paste dashboard and create layout.js. Now let's change this component to layout. So first of all, here is layout, and what we want to do inside, we want to change markup to show that this is exactly the layout with some router that we rendered after. So for this I want to just create h1 and write inside that this is a layout, and after this I will just create a div, and inside what we want to render is called outlet. And as you can see, outlet is auto-imported from React Router DOM. So this is how it looks like. We have our layout component which has some markup, and then at some point we want to render the content that will be changed on every single page. And outlet is exactly the place where we will render all our routes. And here on the bottom we need to change the name to layout. Now let's jump back inside our app.js, and what we must write here now, we must wrap all our routes with additional route. So here we can say route, and our element will be layout. So we are registering it exactly like we did previously. But here we are closing our route, and we will put the whole content that we had previously inside this route. So here we have our layout, and we have our children routes that will be rendered inside this outlet place that we prepared. But here is the question, what we can do regarding this route? We can't write path/here for layout and path/here for our dashboard. Actually, this is just our home URL, and instead of path/here, we can write just a word index, and it means that this is our home route. Let's check how it looks like. So here we don't have any errors, let's reload the page. And as you can see, everything is working. Now here layout is rendered on every single page, and here dashboard is rendered because we are on the home page. Now here we are jumping on protected page, and here first of all we see our layout, and secondly our protected page, which is rendered inside outlet. Which actually means now here inside layout component that we can reuse on every single page, we can put for example navigation, footer or our sidebar. The next important question is how to implement 404 page, and it is really easy to implement it. Inside our layout we must simply register new route, and here we are writing that our path is star. And after this we want to write an element, and actually here it is not mandatory to create a component for this, we can simply throw inside element some markup. So here I want to write just a div and inside 404, and it will be rendered on every single route which does not exist on previous routes. Let's check if it's working. I'm reloading the page, nothing is changed, and now here I simply write foo route. As you can see, this route does not exist, this is why here we see 404. And obviously you can pack this div inside additional component and render it just like a normal component. The next typical use case that you will have is dynamic parameters. For example, you have a list of articles that you need to render, and you have a single page for every single article, for example by slug, which actually means you must register a dynamic route, and we can easily do it just by using route path, and here we can provide for example /articles and now colon slug, and it means that this part is dynamic parameter. Now here we can simply close our route and render an element, and our element here will be article component that we must create. This is why I want to copy paste our dashboard and just rename it to the article. Now let's quickly change this component. So we have here article, we're rendering inside our article, and now we simply need to import it inside our app.js. So here on the top we're importing article from our article. So now we have a path /article/slug. So we can write here /article/ and anything, for example foo. And as you can see it is working, our article component was successfully rendered. and it doesn't matter what we are writing here, we simply have a route where this article is rendered. But now the question is how we can parse this information from the URL so we can get this specific article, for example by slug, inside our component. And for this we can use an additional hook which is also coming with React Router. This is why here inside our div article, what we want to do first, we want to get params. This is why here let's register our params with use params hook. And as you can see, it is auto-imported from React Router DOM. And I must tell you that our article is router component. This is not just some random component. You can't get these parameters in any component, only inside the component that you rendered on the router. So here let's console log what we have inside our params. I'm reloading here page, and as you can see inside console we are getting slug, and here is our slug. And every single time when I'm jumping to the new page, our slug is different. And now we can use this information, for example, to render it here or to use it later to fetch this article. But for now we can simply write param slug, and now it is rendered on our page. Another important use case which is going in the same direction is how we can get our query parameters. And typically, for example, you are working with articles and you have a query parameter like page equals 1 that you want to parse. And you can easily do that by using additional hooks. And here we can get the whole search params. And actually here we also have set search params if you need to change them. And here we're using use search params hook, which is also coming from React Router DOM. Now let's console log here not only params, but also search params. I will reload the page, and as you can see here, URL search params is an empty object. But now let's try to add here question mark page equals 1. As you can see, we still can't see anything inside console, but if we will write here search params get, and we know that we want to get page, and reload the page now, then we are getting here 1. This is how we are parsing query parameters inside React Router. One more thing that you will for sure need is programmatic navigation, which actually means we are triggering navigation to another route, not by link, but from our code. And actually it is extremely easy to implement. So here, for example, on the top, we can just create a button, and we want to click on this button and jump to our protected route. This is why here let's write go to protected. And now here we need to apply an on-click event. And what we want to do, we want to navigate to protected. How we can do that? For this we can use one more hook inside React Router DOM. So here we are getting navigate from use navigate. And we must import it also from React Router DOM. Now here inside our onClick function we can simply call this navigate function and provide inside the route, for example /protected. Let's check if it's working. I am here now inside dashboard, you can see here dashboard, and I am clicking go to protected. And as you can see, I am directly on /protected, but not by using route, but by using navigate. And actually you want to use it a lot inside your code when you need to programmatically navigate user to another page. And here is the last thing that I want to show you, which is the most interesting, how we can protect our routes from being accessed, for example, for the anonymous user. And actually React Router allows to implement that. And as you can see here, we have our route index, which is dashboard, and here we have path protected. And actually it makes a lot of sense to make this path allowed only for logged-in user. And typically you have local storage token, for example, or some user information. In this video I will focus on just checking if we set correctly a local storage token. This is why here what we can do, we can create additional component which is called auth.js. And the main idea is that all our protected routes we will wrap in this component. So here I want to copy paste some content, for example from dashboard, because we just need an empty component. Let's name this component auth. And here inside we will get children. What is children? We will have a child route that we need to render or not render. And now here on the bottom I want to export this auth component. But here we didn't do anything at all. What we want to do here, we want to check if we have a local storage. Actually here you can make an API call, or maybe you just check some window variable. For now I want to create here a token and check if we have local storage, get item, and here is our token. So if we have this token, then we're allowed to render our route. If we don't have this token, then we must navigate a user to the home page. This is why here, if we don't have a token, then here I want to render navigate component. And actually we are getting this navigate component also from React Router DOM. And essentially here we simply provide to, and user will be navigated to our home page. So our out component is ready. Now we must wrap inside our app our protected route with this component. And for this we can simply write inside an element our auth component, and here inside we have protected, and we're closing here our auth component. Now here on the top we must import our auth component from auth. Let's check if it's working. I will reload the page here and try to jump to protected page. And as you can see, it blinked for 1 second that I wasn't protected, and then directly we were redirected back on dashboard, which actually means we can't really jump to /protected because it is not allowed. We're directly redirected to our home page. But if we will set inside our application a token, which will be token and some number, because we simply check that we have it, and reload the page here, then we have a token and we can jump to protected page normally. Which actually means we simply wrap our element that we want to render our route with additional auth component. And we do some magic with checking current user, for example, inside this component. This is how you implement authentication with React Router. And actually, if you're interested to learn how to implement yourself pagination inside React, make sure to check this video also.